Good evening, Ms. Denham.
Woohoo! Good evening, Mr. Plum.
Sure, it looks plum in the count. Actually, it is plum. It's kind of like
Is
a
it
red.
plum?
Yeah, well, I'm used to wearing black or gray, but I just changed my shirt just for you, so you can see.
Oh, thanks.
You're so
That's
well,
nice.
and the hair is straight. Love it, love it.
Well, believe it or not, I love how juicy you are. Even though this is the first time that we're doing an episode at 9 o'clock or later at night.
Getting juicy after dark.
Getting exactly.
Getting fruity, actually. Getting
fruity. I know.
I love it. So I wanted to wear a fruity colored shirt
so
just for this episode. I'm so excited. And I just can't hide it.
Don't know the rest of the words.
And I just think I like it.
I just like to make my own words to all these songs. I should know the lyrics to that song.
Oh,
sure.
Pointer Sisters.
This is the only time, guys, I don't drink that often, but I just thought it's the time of night for the podcast. I thought, why not have we'll just use that word again. Everyone gets so confused about the word schmeckle. A schmeckle of alcohol. A schmattering.
Yeah, a little bit of schmeckahol.
A schmeckahol. Schmattering.
Yeah, but for me, I am a schmeckaholic, so that's a different term altogether. I love that
term.
Oh my god, we got to put that on our branded merchandise.
Yes,
hashtag schmeckaholic. I'm actually going to write that down right now.
Can you please write that down? Because I absolutely adore that.
Yeah, that is so great.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
It's funny because I was thinking about Jono coming on soon.
Yes.
And for those of you that don't know who our guest is this evening, but actually it's going to be mid-afternoon for him.
Yes. He's apparently 2 o'clock, he said?
Yeah, perhaps. So he's an Aussie, and I cannot do accents, so don't even ask me. I was almost going to do one.
He's an Aussie.
I would have sounded like...
right.
Yeah.
Righto.
Yeah, to me it would have sounded like, English/German/Jamaicans. Maybe there's an Aussie in there somewhere. I'm the worst at accents.
Oi.
Yeah, so is that...
That sounds Yiddish. That sounds Yiddish, actually. That's a perfect... Yeah, because he'd be like, Aussie, and we were like, oi,
ve.
Okay, we got to do that when he comes in. That.
So Jono is a fellow that discovered our podcast, our Instagram account, I should say, and asked if we'd like to collaborate in some way. And so because his podcast, and we'll talk about this more when he comes on, and I love this because we kind of, our thing now, I think, is to like chat a little bit, and then the guests will come on and be like, hi, okay, we're recording now.
Yes,
so then we kind of just jump right into it. So that's kind of, I guess, what our thing is becoming.
Yes.
So Jono has a podcast called Desperately Seeking. And I'll have to ask him how long he's had this podcast for, but I feel like it's been maybe 2 years.
Oh, has it been that long? Okay.
Yeah, because I thought I saw an episode from 2018.
Okay.
But Jono brings his sister on the podcast quite a bit, and basically, hence the name Desperately Seeking. He is seeking love. And we were at one point talking about, that's not a great heart.
No.
It was Hiro's doing the little...
I'm trying to do the heart thing, like the Care Bear, like the Care Bear, like Lionheart. I shoot the heart. Shoot the heart to Dan Under from the Great North.
So nice. So Jono is looking for love. We had this great idea that we'd like to have him on the show because, Hiro similarly is also looking for love. Maybe he's put it on pause a bit right now, but both these lovely, adorable, the same age, actually, gentlemen are looking for, who knows who their Prince Charming is. We'll have to ask Jono. But during these times, during the pandemic, what has it been like? So we're going to hopefully get pretty juicy and pretty fruity with, some anecdotes, some stories, some experiences, and specifically also the contrast, maybe some comparisons too, between Australia and us, and he's in Melbourne specifically, has been under a very strict lockdown. So I'm very interested to hear from him and see what he has to say. So
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what it's going to be like, because I know I've talked to people across even dating, like on Tinder and Grindr and Bumble, whatever, because I've been on all the apps, you know, from the more dating oriented into the more non-dating oriented. And so a lot of the time people...
That's a really nice way of putting it.
I try to be diplomatic whenever I can be, and then kind of sprinkle a little bit of the candidness along the way.
Yeah.
Gotta have some class, even if it's for a split second. So... And I've noticed some men have had the same situations actually in their country or continent of residence. And there have been people that have been even in other parts of Canada that are feeling similar to me or different. But also I find that's really neat is that when we do talk to Jono, I'm really curious to know about the contrast of social culture and how much of that is dependent on where in the world we are, and how much of it is just based on being a gay male, and what gets us off both emotionally, sexually, spiritually, psychologically, because it's a loaded dynamic, you know. And even for yourself, you can definitely relate to all of those things, regardless if it's gender or sexuality. Like, I think it's some things are universal.
Agreed. I think the biggest difference here is going to be the fact that I'm in a committed marriage, and what that's been like during the past, what has it been, like 7 months now of the pandemic, when it's really kind of hit home in March.
Early March.
But the other thing I was thinking is that I think in this conversation, I'm going to be a little bit of a referee.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I'm excited for that job. I feel like I'll be a little bit of a mediator between the two of you, you know, and I was like, I'll take on that.
And also role. what we can do is we can like say, we can hashtag educate you, because I know you're going to hear some things that maybe you might have some reference of, and others have to be like, I have no idea what Jono or Hiiro just said, and then we're like, pause, Rachel, this is what this is.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. This is fantastic.
Yes,
love it.
Right?
I love it. So yeah, I'm really stoked. I'm giggling because, you know what, it's okay because we're showing this on YouTube. I know for those of you that are listening, Hiiro's, and I'm just going to say it because we're just open. He's writing me little message chats in the Zoom convo with his hashtags that he's come up with, which are very, very smart. Yeah, yes. Fine. I love Schmeckaholic though. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and I'm cute apparently. What does that mean?
Rosacado.
Oh, Rosacado. Oh, the way I read it, I thought Rose Cato. It's like, what is that? Like a tornado? Like I don't know. I wasn't quite sure.
I don't know, but Rosacado, I like the way it looked. Rosacado, yes.
Rosacado.
I know. I'm not going to let that go from our first recording.
I know. That's okay.
Yeah.
I will still take it as a compliment, as looking like an avocado with my eyes closed.
If I was a fruit,
does it still hold up? Does it still hold up now?
It totally holds up, and your lighting is fantastic. And you know what? I love like the color, like the roots of your hair. They're kind of like avocado brown, kind of, so they kind of frame you nicely.
You were just calling out to the fact that I have roots. Thank you.
What do I know about?
I'm teasing. I really don't care. I really don't care. But
that's a good point though, because that's right. There are women. There are women.
Oh, there are women.
Yeah. No. So that's a good point. Yeah.
Of course. And there are women that would take offense to it.
That's true.
I do not. But Hiiro, guys, and I got it. Yeah. You know, that's just you in a nutshell. I love it.
That's just me.
Like it is, but you don't.
But you don't think of it. It's not a negative comment. It's just like it's an observation.
No. And then I
How am I supposed to know it's different?
Because you're like this cute little innocent, not to call you a kid, but you're
compared to you. You're the one that called me a kid.
I know, but I'm not that much. I mean, I'm not old.
No. MSN was out when we were both around. So.
Okay, now I gotta start drinking.
Hey, at least you're not someone that you're someone I can refer and say, do you know what a Palm Pilot is? And you know what the hell a Palm Pilot is. I had a conversation with someone just the other day that was like, I forgot they were like 19 or 20. I'm like, oh my God, you don't know what a Palm Pilot is. I was so
not heard of a Palm Pilot in the longest time. I
was doing inventory
and the little, like, what is it, like a stylus?
Yes, but I was doing inventory scanning at my work, so I was like, this is like a Palm Pilot, but like with a handle. So I was like, you know what a Palm Pilot is, right? And they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh my God, I'm not the baby anymore because I'm always.
That's what you were saying. Yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah, they probably don't know what film is for a camera either. Although maybe that's a retro thing.
I think that might, yeah,
that's
it is retro,
cool
but
retro thing.
I think that's more referential to knowledge base of just technology, whereas a Palm Pilot, it's like a flash from a cell phone between there and having an actual smartphone. That's basically what a Palm Pilot is. I guess so.
It's funny because I feel like Blackberries are now becoming a thing of the past.
They are. I mean, haven't they been for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, but I think people still know what they are. It wasn't that long ago, but that's going to be something else. Like, what's a Blackberry?
I know exactly. They have to come up with like, oh my God, this is the new raspberry. Like they have to like put up a new fruit or something.
I don't know. Of course you talk about fruit.
Oh my God, I love fruit so much. I'm so into it.
I had a few pieces of fruit today.
I've got my fruit bowl right here that's filled with chips.
This is great because we can like have this this podcast and we could eat popcorn. I mean, I'm not going to do that right now, but
no, totally not. But we could it'd be fun if we were just like, and you look like the crunchy chip. You're like, yeah, great, thanks. Trying to have a moment here. Trying to have a real sentimental moment.
Well, the problem is too that on a podcast, you're not going to want to hear someone chewing in your ear because it's all audio. So you get rid of the visual, which would be with the YouTube channel, but not on just Spotify.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I was thinking about Zoom and how we're doing all these with video as well, which I love because not everyone does that with podcasts. By the way,
we're smart.
Everyone, yeah. Some people do for sure. But I was thinking as I was doing my hair at 9:00 at night, which I mean I used to do that kind of thing when I went out pre-pandemic, but I haven't done that in so long, so late at night. And then I thought to myself, I don't need to care what the back of my hair looks like because no one's going to see that part.
Is this in the front?
Yeah. I'm not going to
turn in the back.
Not that the back of my hair looks bad, but it's just funny with the way the world is right now. Yeah. It is, of course, it's 3-dimensional, but in a way, you're just getting the front view of all of us.
Well, yeah, like I was even
might not be wearing pants.
I was just gonna say, like, should I even put pants on tonight?
Might not be wearing pants, and that is definitely something that I might want to just do without anyone knowing.
Exactly.
It would feel so free.
Oh, I know. It'd be so free. We have our penis and our breast books already, so does it really feel like that much of a stretch? I don't really think so. And we're getting fruity, so I mean, it's a pretty nice vibe.
Possibly.
Let it all hang out.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially for the men.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, exactly. I know exactly what that feels like. No.
Yeah, no, you don't. You're nice and compact.
No. Well, yeah. I know it, yeah. Yeah. Compact.
I love that. Oh, too funny.
Compact.
I know, right? I mean, you got chesticles, we got
penisicles.
Yeah, sure.
Pexicle. No, like a
crotchicles.
Pexicle.
Peckersicles.
Oh, peck. Just I guess because pecks. Never mind, because pecks can be up here. Then your pecker.
But your pecker.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I know.
Okay, that doesn't really work. Dixicles.
No. Dixicles is cute. Coxicle.
Why the heck did we think of that?
I don't know, but I'll put it in our check. So this is what I'm doing. I put our ideas into our chat.
Which is similar to a corksicle.
Yes, it is.
That brand.
Yes, it is. Well, you know what's really cute? I actually call
Coxicle.
But you know what's really cute though is that you know what I call my dad as a term of endearment?
Okay, now I'm scared.
No, I call him
Popsicle. What we're just talking about. No, it rhymes with it, but I call my dad Popsicle. Oh, cute, like pops.
Yeah, exactly. Like, hey, Popsicle. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's really cute. Yeah, right?
I like that.
Yeah, Popsicle. Like that. Yeah. Hi, Dad, if you're listening. I'm sure you're...
Hi, Popsicle.
Yeah, exactly. Hi to our parents and family, whoever's watching us.
Yes.
Or not.
Speaking of which, eventually I think it'd be kind of fun to have our family members maybe chat to them, maybe during the holiday season.
Yes, I think that would be really great.
Hanukkah.
Yeah, I think that would be
Christmas.
Yeah, and you know what would be cool is if we can get our parents to talk to us about our most embarrassing moments or things that make us cringeworthy, and then we can do the same back to them and do kind of like a volley.
I could dig up some dirt. Sure.
Oh, I bet.
I'm sure I can. Sure. I know of some dirt already.
Oh, for sure. I know my mom would definitely be down for it. I don't think it would be my dad's thing, but my mom could reveal a lot of appropriate information about my dad that he would be more than happy to know. Yeah, for sure. And if not, then sorry, not sorry.
Well, yeah. And my dad, I mean, oh gosh, now we're getting in. I know we're waiting for Mr. Jono here.
Yes.
But my dad being, there he is.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Very good. How's it going down under? How's it in the future?
In the future, exactly.
That was amazing.
Was it really?
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
The second part
Yeah, no.
sucked,
Second
actually.
part was terrible. Yeah. It's when you're trying too hard that it just doesn't work.
Well, and Jono, just before you hopped on.
I couldn't do your accent.
Oh,
That's
hilarious.
okay.
And
That's
Jono,
all right,
we're recording already because we kind of like to do this whole, we've got a little bit of banter just before, and then we're like, there he is. He's hopped on. And we were trying to do accents, and I'm sorry, if I start to somehow mimic your accent because I'm talking to you, it's not because I'm trying to offend you. It's just
it's psychological.
I think some people psychologically do that with accents.
No, we do. We adapt.
You know?
I've done it to many British people. It just comes out, and I'm like, "Oops, sorry, mate."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
no, I love it. But some people do get offended.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you completely butcher it, like fucking like you really butcher it, or if you mistake them for a different. Well, okay. Now we're getting on a whole different tangent. I was going to say, especially
Kiwi or Aussie.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
And they're very different.
So, we tend to do this without introducing you officially, and we will introduce you now. So
we will.
So, Jono, thank you for joining us. It's awesome that you came and joined us, even though I think you're 18 hours ahead because of the time change, right?
Yeah.
Really?
But it's fine. It's a good time.
Good, yes, which at this part of the world, we haven't quite hit that fall back phase yet. But Jono, like I mentioned just before him hopping on, he is the host of Desperately Seeking. And Desperately Seeking. And correct me if I'm wrong, but does your sister join you on your podcast quite often, or is she a co-host, or how does?
So my sister is producing it, and so she is always in the room giving her opinions, but she's not an official co-host. She just can't keep her mouth shut sometimes.
Okay.
That sounds like us.
It sounds like siblings. As well.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So great. What a great way to bond with your sister as well, I bet.
It's definitely been there's been a lot of growth because, I'm talking on this podcast about all my hookups and all the dates I go on. And so for my little sister to be hearing in detail is a little much, but she's gotten used to it.
I'm sure she's reacted a lot out loud. She's like, wait, what?
Exactly.
So
that's very relatable.
That's actually a really good segue into, we kind of explained what your podcast was about, but that gives people a little bit more of an inkling as to what it's about. But explain what your podcast is about. And has it been around since 2018? Is that correct? Because I was looking at the dates of your episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, go.
You did the research.
So the gist of the podcast is that now I'm 27 and I've never had a boyfriend my whole life. And everyone always says, it'll happen one day. You're so gorgeous. How could someone not love you? And I'm like, guys, I'm clearly doing something wrong here because everyone just flees from me. So I go on a date every episode, and my co-host will tell me what I've done wrong, what I've said or done that's made them turn away.
Interesting. Wow.
That sounds very self-deprecating.
It is.
It is his sister, though.
For putting but amazing.
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
That's great. A lot of bravery and a lot of resilience as well.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. It's sometimes it's hard to be so open, but it's such a community of people that listen that I feel really easy to speak. And same as you guys on your podcast, it's really funny, but at the same time it's got so much heart and you have these open conversations as well.
Thank you. Yeah,
we just like the pride right open.
Yes.
The wrong iron gates to heaven or hell, either way.
Oh Lord, Hiiro. Seriously. Yeah, true. I don't know. The devil and the angel. So what was I going to say? So Yeah, no,
I love how you're doing this story. I love how you're like, so what are we going to do?
I know, and I
Like,
don't know why I'm doing that.
Because you're around two lovely gay men.
This is true,
We love the
but I have to remind you, I also came from musical theater parents. So there's a lot of like
jazz hands,
and a lot of very interesting people in the community that I grew up with, which I probably, and I love it. I love it. So
I so know what you mean.
okay, now you're just mocking me. So, and in any case, well, what I love is just because we were talking, you know, Hiiro is also looking for love. He's been, what we really want to chat to you about, I think, is just the comparisons, the contrast with dating during the pandemic more specifically. And I can't imagine, Jono, how much more difficult that's probably been for you since you first started your podcast and your journey. And I also, I mean, I can't believe that it's been 2 years. You still don't have a boyfriend? Sorry, not to like pour salt on the wound, but I just...
Yeah, Rachel, at least make it.
I'm sorry, but like everyone probably tells you you're such a cutie pie.
Thank you.
And you seem so lovely.
Yeah, I know. I'm cute.
It's and
you have a delicious accent.
Yeah, I'm cute.
Well.
I know I'm cute.
Yeah, but maybe I need to go to Canada so that I make the most of my accent because everyone sounds like me here.
We do have quite a bit of Aussies in Vancouver as well, but they don't necessarily stay. And honestly, not to be discriminatory, because I can tell that you're not, but a lot of them are assholes. So I mean, you're probably in a really good market.
Yeah. Okay, try
living in a country full of them.
Yeah.
I think we just cut ourselves out of all the Australian listeners if we had any, and never will have them ever again because of what you just said, Hiiro, especially those from Vancouver.
That's okay. They know what they've done, and they're proud of it. They really don't care. Gosh. They probably wouldn't be offended by my comment because I really don't care.
Oh my gosh.
My personal experience. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm sharing everything from my candid personal experiences.
Okay. Fair enough. This is why I love you. Okay. Just gonna close my eyes. I feel like before we hopped on, I said to Hiiro, I feel like I almost want to be like a referee in this conversation between the two of you because not to single myself out, but I'm not looking for love right now because I've been married for a few years. We had a whole different ball of wax of issues being in a relationship during the pandemic. That could be for another time.
Yeah.
Totally different scenario.
I'm not sure which is harder. Like being in a relationship during a pandemic or looking for one.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Yeah, we'll dive into that because I think that between you and me, Jono, I'm sure we'll have a lot of good juice to fill up Rachel's cup, and then we can educate her on everything. So I just realized how that sounded like, but you know what? That's me. That's Hiiro. Hi.
I love it.
For those of you that are not watching and you're listening, you just need to see my facial expressions. So hop on our YouTube channel to see those gems.
I need to see my swerving.
Yeah. Okay, Hiiro, I got to reel you back in here. I think that I don't know what you ate before this.
I'm actually starving, so I haven't eaten for like 3 or 4 hours. So
okay, Jono, we're gonna bring it back to you because you are our guest. I'm sorry we've gone off on a bit of a tangent. My
favorite conversation topic.
Okay. So I want to know in particular, what did you find majorly changed? Well, aside from not being able to see people right off the bat with dating, but or you know what's the scenario where you are right now? What's the situation with regards to the pandemic? Yeah. Maybe that's a good place.
I'm in Melbourne, which is like the state of Victoria, and we have like the worst like COVID numbers of the country. So we're still in like our really strict lockdown. It's been since March 31st. We haven't been allowed to have any visitors to the home, and no restaurants and bars have been open. What? There was 4 weeks in there where we were allowed to have 5 guests, but still so I haven't been able to go on like a proper date since April.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So that threw a spanner in the works of dating and having a dating podcast.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
See, and I didn't realize that Australia, like I thought for some reason it was kind of touch and go. There was some times where it was a bit more open and then it wasn't, but it sounds to me like it's been pretty locked down in your
in Victoria.
area.
Victoria.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The rest of the country is pretty normal.
Okay.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's like a very political, because, and I don't know, like there's two sides to every story, but we have really low numbers compared to like, you know, America especially. Like now I think we're on like 10 cases a day average, but
that's nothing.
I'm still only
nothing.
10?
That's nothing. We have at least 100 to 150 right now.
In BC.
In British Columbia.
Which is just one province of the whole country. So
wow.
That's and everything's open almost here.
Yeah. I see on Instagram all the
Not to make you jealous. Like I honestly don't necessarily agree with what it's going on here. But in any case, so what's the population of where you are? So if you're saying it's kind of all relative, so 10 people a day. I know. I'm sorry. I'm hitting you with like. If you don't know, that's fine.
I don't know, but it's like it's the biggest city or the second biggest city next to Sydney. Probably it's massive.
Right.
But they just like really don't want to have like another big outbreak, so they're keeping us locked down. We have to have below 5 a day for 2 weeks before they'll let us have guests.
4.9 million in Melbourne. Sorry, I just wanted to check that.
Thanks, Hiiro. Yeah.
And still I can't find a boyfriend.
Lord.
What has communication been like with you in finding and being on dating? Like, how many people do you find you have a chance to connect and have a proper conversation with?
Well, during the lockdown, it's been hard because, so like at the start of and also like you're not allowed to go within or further than 5 kilometers from your home. So I'm single living alone. So I've kind of exhausted all the people within 5 kilometers of my house. But at the start, like we would go on like lots of walk dates or like get a coffee for like a takeaway coffee. So that was fun. But I did find, I don't know if you felt the same, Hiiro, doing it, that it felt like wrong or like illegal, like I shouldn't be outside. Like I felt like I was doing the wrong thing.
Definitely in the beginning, like in beginning of March and middle of April, before we eat a little bit, I definitely felt kind of like I was dirty, or that I felt like I was committing a sin, or it was socially improper, you know, or that we were doing like taboo for sure.
Yeah, and so it almost makes you like not want to go dating, but like that social interaction is so necessary. Like, I mean, who am I without boys dating me?
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's an interesting comment. Yeah, and as far as, sorry, go on. Yes, go on.
No, I was just gonna say, like, especially because, like, I'm so used to going on a lot of dates, so to go from like that many to 0, it kind of like just was a shock to the system.
Yeah,
I hear you. I feel you hard.
Well, and then you said, I feel you.
Let's just say I feel you. If you're watching this.
I think I need to write a book already.
Yeah.
I think I need to write a book already. I was just going to go back for a second because you said, so do you have anyone that lives with you?
No, totally single Pringle.
No, but do you see your sister though? Like your sister comes?
No, we do it over FaceTime, recording the podcast.
Okay.
And does your sister live near you or no?
I think she's just out of the 5 kilometers, but we kind of meet in the middle and go for a walk.
Okay. Well, that's
so then we're both in our 5Ks.
Okay, that's good.
So are the police, are the authorities they're roaming, they're on the streets, like watching what people do? Will they give out tickets? Are there fines? Or
do they track your phone? How do they know if you're 5 kilometers out of your radius?
Yeah, I've never heard of anyone being caught being more than 5Ks unless they like get pulled over.
Right.
But it's more like you just shouldn't do it. And if you did get caught somehow, you'd be in trouble. But I don't want to I like to follow rules. I'm a rule follower.
Of course. And that's not, I wasn't insinuating. I'm sorry, I wasn't insinuating that. I was just curious because it's just, it's so interesting to me how every country has been dealing with this differently in their own ways. And just to see, you know, what seems to be working, what doesn't seem to be really working, and it's, and how it's affecting the human psyche and your normal day to day. I mean, the papers that will be written on this stuff in the future, and it'll just go on and on and on. Especially, I mean, now it's all the mental effects of everything too, right? So.
Oh yeah. Physiological and neurological.
But yeah, 100%. So then in that regard, because you said before you were doing, you go on coffee dates, but now, so have you now resorted to Zoom dates? Are you doing any of that?
I gave it a go, but it's quite awkward. I don't know. How did you find it, Hiro?
To be honest, I chose just not to do Zoom dates at all because it's just very bizarre. In terms of my dating, like I started dating, I didn't stop dating, I guess I would say, like through the pandemic. I mean, I kind of stopped more around June-ish, but between March and June, I was pretty consistent, I would say, in terms of putting myself out there, getting to know people. And so kind of what you explained, we would get coffee. There's only a couple Starbuckses around, and we have a ton in Vancouver. It's very popular here because it's West Coast. So the one that I used to go to was closed. So I found one that was nearby at a grocery store, and they have like an affiliate, I guess you could say. So I would always meet the same guys there. So it kind of became really interesting because the same staff worked there. So they would always see me with different men, which is really funny because I knew that I was single and looking for a relationship, and I kind of had a little thing for the guy that was working at there on staff, and I don't know, regardless of his preferences, I was like, okay, he's not interested. So every time I would come in and be like, hey, how's it going? And like literally I'd have a different guy every week. I'm thinking, oh my God, they must think I'm the biggest slut, the biggest whore, like going from trick to trick. And it's funny because I'm not afraid to be on dates with tons of people and kind of see if something would stick, because honestly, most likely they're not going to stick. So why not date several until one might actually stay in the bullet chamber, I like to say.
Bullet chamber.
Kind of like Russian roulette, right? I always say, like, it's like Russian roulette. You load the barrel chamber with like 5 or 6 guys, depending on how many you talk to at once, and then eventually you shoot them all out when they're not the right fit, and then hopefully one sticks.
Holy crap!
That's my reference point. And
speaking of that, sorry, this is a little bit off tangent, but not really. But do you remember there was that people roulette thing, that internet thing?
Oh, chat roulette. Oh.
Yes. Okay. Does that still exist?
I think it does exist, and I know there are ones for like actual sex related things. I've seen gay sex ones.
Even if there aren't, I remember going on those just with my girlfriends for a little laugh, and the amount of penises that would just show up out of nowhere, a little creepy.
Right.
Anyway, that just reminded me of that. Oh goodness.
Oh, I know. Too many references to those times in the mid 2000s.
Yes.
I know. It was so fun though.
Yeah.
It was really fun. It was really like, okay, penis next, another penis next.
Oh, pretty penis. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine was one of those. I was one of the penises.
You were the pretty penis.
Oh, that's so sweet.
You were the penis. The penis. I was almost going to try to do the Australian accent. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, but the penis.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh.
Too late.
Oh my.
Came and went.
I want to hear some stories now. I feel like both of you have incredible stories, but specifically surrounding, I mean, it's interesting. Okay, not that I'm getting off tangent, but I was just thinking about, there's such a huge difference during the pandemic when it comes to relationships or dating. I either hear some of the best scenarios or literally some of the worst scenarios. I haven't heard a lot of in between, and especially when it comes to relationships that people are in. I've unfortunately heard of quite a few people that have split. A number of people that have split, very sadly. It's definitely been something that I think has shone light on a lot of people's true authentic selves, whatever that means, or things in their relationship they never really dealt with previously, and then it just kind of was right in their face and had to deal with them. So there's that. But then when it comes to the dating world, it's either people have completely given up, that's on the other side of the spectrum, or I've heard of some very incredible, interesting stories. So I want to hear some juice now.
Yeah, absolutely. Jono, do you want to start with that? I know that you've been locked on a bit longer, but I'm curious to know what it's like in there, and then we can ping pong and Rachel can referee us.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Get that whistle ready,
with, like,
Rach.
I didn't...
In one corner we have Jono, Australia.
I didn't do like Zoom dating, but I did have like a Snapchat relationship of sorts with this one guy, which was just like snap sex. Yeah, just sending nudes back and forth for months. It was so strange.
Really?
Yeah, and so I never even really saw his face. I got a face pic after like month 3, maybe. #snap sex.
Yeah.
And
see, I love it. Okay, all those that are listening right now, again, because we were mentioning how Hiro's been writing me little things in our chat in Zoom, which usually we don't announce out, but I forgot that I guess he just has sent it to everyone. So now he's come up with another hashtag. Yes.
That's right. It's going to everyone.
Yeah, and I think
I'm just going to keep that to everyone.
That's okay.
That's fine. I might as well keep it to everyone in this context.
#snapsex.
Yeah.
Okay, continue, Jono. I'm sorry.
I love it. I will just like what I do on my podcast is when I'm talking about someone, I give them a celebrity doppelganger just so people have an idea of who I'm talking about.
Nice.
So this guy, he looked like Bob Saget, if you know him.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Obviously, it wasn't Bob Saget.
Is Bob Saget Jewish?
I think so. Keep speaking, Jono. Keep speaking.
He seems Jewish anyway. Yeah, we do know who that is. He's hilarious, actually.
Yeah.
Very dirty.
Bob Saget was not as funny, but he had a beautiful penis. And I got to know very well.
Yes, he is Jewish.
And then you said 3 months until you saw the person's face?
Yeah. Well, I was like, I don't need the face. He didn't want to send it. A lot of times people are like super discreet, so they don't want to send a face pic. I've even met up with people without knowing what they're going to look like. I just know their body. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you hear that, girl? That's interesting. Very interesting.
Can you repeat that? Because I heard part of it, but I just want to make sure I got like the full juice on that. Like an action replay.
If there's like someone who's, on Grindr, you're just like a torso sometimes. They just have like a picture of their abs. And if I'm talking to someone, they've got a hot torso, they send me a dick pic, I'm into it. I don't need to see the face before I'm going to meet up. So I will just...
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll just go to their house not knowing what their face actually looks like.
Okay, I have to just...
So it was like everything but his face.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to dive in here for a sec as with a question.
Yes.
No, maybe that's too... I was just curious if...
just do it, Rachel.
No. Maybe later. I sometimes Rachel has to bite her tongue. Okay. I was curious. No, I want to hear more. Okay, so that's very
you like the bite.
So, are you specifically? Are you on more than just Grindr though? Like you would use. I'm sure you
definitely.
are, but still, every app you use, it's never the face.
Oh no, that's like not always. That's just like I'd prefer to see their face first, but if they're not willing to send it, then I'm not going to force it.
Okay.
And you're fine. Like if you were able to meet them in person in normal time, you'd be fine seeing their cock pic and their ab pic, and you would be comfortable meeting them in person. Like you would just go and meet them.
Yeah, 100%.
So then when you meet them, are you like, so how do we tell who each other are? Or just whip it out like, oh, that's you.
No, if in that scenario, I would just be.
You're like.
You're like, take, just, same penis.
Yeah, just a little bit to the right, curved up a little bit, a little bit pulled back. Yeah, okay, that's what we're looking for. Okay.
Yeah. Sweater, no turtleneck. Remember we were talking about the other day?
Oh my God.
Hilarious. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that Snapchat relationship has like fully developed now, and so now
happening?
Yeah, well, you're allowed to have like your intimate partner, so like a boyfriend or a girlfriend if you're into that, and so you're allowed to visit them, like even if they live more than 5 kilometers away.
Okay.
And this guy, not Bob Saget, I have been like visiting with him now.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
that's cool.
it's just been like through lockdown, like through the Snapchat sex and the Grindr messages to now we're like intimate partners.
Oh my gosh, congratulations. That's
weird.
huge.
Okay, so hold on a second. Does Jono have a boyfriend or no?
No,
You don't have to like announce that on our show. I'm just curious. No,
it's still very early days.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's fantastic though, and let alone through an app like Snapchat. Like, I mean, for me, I used Snapchat once. I was like, this is way too like millennial. This is way too young for me. Like, I'm good with Instagram and that's it. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
You're still a millennial, Hero. Both
yeah,
of you
but
are.
I'm definitely
I am
not
on the cusp still, but
yeah, but I'm definitely not like millennial in the sense that people that would be similar age demographic to me are using all the modern apps.
Yes. Yeah.
But still though, like, and I'm not saying as a criticism, I'm just saying it's a fact. And then they're talking about, even like TikTok is a good example, and I think it's a fantastic platform, but I don't have a TikTok account. Like, it's never been something that I've been genuinely
I don't either, actually. I
about,
thought about it, but yeah.
So that's where it's coming from. It's like there's a lot of youth that are into technology, into platforms and stuff like Snapchat or TikTok, and they are totally content using it. Whereas for me and some of my other friends, we're just like, doesn't really come up in our radar, right? So it's fascinating that you met someone in that way, and it's developed into that. Like, I think that's actually really cool for those that are listening to think, it could be me too. Like, this is actually a real avenue for that to happen. I think that's fantastic.
It is, I've never heard of that.
I'm similar to you, Hero, in that I don't love all the apps, but I got Snapchat specifically because guys were trying to give me their Snapchat, and I was always like, I don't have it, and then it would just kill the convo. So to be able to say like, I've got it, here it is, and you can just have it just in case something develops.
It's really neat you say that.
Do you find that from your podcast, are you getting more attention, or have you been more attention to more dates, but have they been more guys that are like not more serious? Are they just kind of like being silly, not really, not a serious date, I guess I should say? Or is it different, different type of guys than it was prior to the podcast?
No, I honestly, like, before the podcast I hadn't been on a date, or maybe like one or two.
Okay.
I just couldn't really find someone who wanted to go on a date. And so this has really helped me like get over all my like fears and anxieties and inexperience and stuff. But I've definitely there's been a lot of like crazy guys that I have now encountered. And a part of me thinks like maybe I'm like, I don't know, like I'm not actively searching out people that'll be good episode content, but I feel like I just ignore red flags because I am so hopeful for like, I'll be like, like they're creepy over message, but maybe they'll be cool in real life. Like I don't want to write anyone off.
I get that. Can I ask you something, Jono? With your podcast, have people reached out to you from your podcast that have wanted to meet you in person that maybe live in your area? Like, have you seen any of that happen?
Like guys?
Yeah, like have you had any like guys that have tuned into your podcast and maybe they're hearing about your stories and they've directly reached out to you and they want to meet you or they want to connect with you in real life? Have you had that happen before?
Yeah, it's happened a few times, but I just feel like awkward because like then I'm going on a date and we both know that I'm going to be talking about this date on the podcast. And so I feel like it's like it just adds a weird vibe. I can't do it.
No, that's fair. It's fair.
Yeah. But sometimes I'll be like messaging a guy for like a week or something, and then he will be like, oh, by the way, like I have to let you know, like I do listen to your podcast. And I'm like, I can't.
It's a conflict of interest in a sense as well, though, because it's like they understand more about what you've been through and they can, I don't want to say that they would manipulate it, but the more information you do have, the more intel you have behind that person, and you can base an opinion on yourself, for example, which might not actually be the reality at all. It just might be a perception that's actually not what you want them to lead with you, right?
And so this is an exclusive. Yesterday, I met up, not Bob, slept over, and I told him about the podcast. It's like the first time I've told a guy. So I think he's curious. And so now he's like started listening, and there's 2 episodes about him already, and it's like I'm like freaking out now because now he's like hearing all my deepest, darkest secrets. He knows all my history with guys for the past 2 years and all my fears and stuff. And it's kind of the stuff that you want to keep a mystery in the first couple of weeks of dating someone.
Right.
Yeah. It's true, but then again, like if he knows all that, then you're not wasting time, because it's like he's not worth it. If he doesn't stick around, and you know, then you're not wasting time, right?
Yeah. Wise words, Rachel.
So it's, you know, time goes by too fast.
But also with what you just said, with what Rachel said, and with what you're saying, Jono, I mean, for me, my platform and my social media, my website, like my brand, I guess, what I stand for, I made the decision very early on to be as public as I decided to be public. And a lot of people were kind of advising to be more restrained or conservative in what I share or how open I am, because you don't know who's looking at your information. But, you know, at some point when it comes to, depending on what our intention is, if we have a message to share with people on like a podcast or a website, or for me being a yoga teacher, I have a message that I share with my students and those that are in the community, you kind of want to put yourself out there, and you just assume the position that, people might know stuff about me that I have no idea that they might already know about me. And just kind of being okay with that, right, is one of those things that you know that people are going to have their opinions, but you got to do what works for you. And just because it doesn't work for someone else, and if you're dating someone, a guy you want to date with and things like that, who cares if they look you up or whatever? I mean, eventually they're going to know the information anyways. And if they're a decent individual, you would hope they would ask you about that. And they would say like, hey, I actually have seen you online, or I've read about you and I'm really curious. You would think that they would actually appreciate that, not turn it around for their own divisiveness, right?
Oh my, guys, this is like therapy. Thank you so much. You have such good advice.
This experience.
That's what we're here for. Maybe that's our new segment will be, you know, getting therapized with Rachel and Hiiro. Oh man, too funny. Well, and speaking of therapy, what I love is something you said that I thought was so inspiring. You pretty much, it sounds like you started the podcast as a way of a therapy, in a sense, to get yourself out of your own head and to put yourself out there. And you really, I mean, that's really cool. That's really inspiring.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it like forced me to go on dates that I would normally be too scared to go on, because like I needed a new episode. So I had to go on a date with someone. So
I love it.
That's brave.
Yeah, so
that's
it
really
like forced me, and I've grown so much.
I bet.
Yeah, just based on the things you've shared already, I can pick up on the growth and the periods that you've gone through, and I think that's really you need to commend yourself for that if you don't already. It's you got to be your own cheerleader, right? You got to really just think, hell yeah, I did that. I don't care how it happened, but I did that motherfucking thing, and I'm proud of my goddamn self, right? You got to be your own cheerleader, especially in a time or a society where maybe we don't feel as connected to others as we might think we are, right? Especially with dating. I mean, come on. It can be a very optimistic and at the same time very, for me at least, a very kind of hopeless in stuff. Like I call myself a hopeful romantic instead of a hopeless romantic, but at the same time I think, okay, like how many times am I going to have to keep opening up to people and by how much of a degree, and then all of a sudden that person's not going to work out and I don't set myself up for it. It just happens and I'm like, great, you know, I'm drained. I don't need to keep, it's exhausting. It's like not an interview, but you always have to open up to people, be vulnerable. And if those people are equally vulnerable, but they're so vulnerable that they're not in sync with how much you're willing to share and blah, 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 it adds on that much more complexity. And then we get into the other stuff that's more superficial, but it's also equally important because it's all like a chemistry puzzle piece. And obviously the jigsaw puzzle has to match enough. And a lot of the time it doesn't. You know, it's literally like Russian roulette. That's why I said it's like Russian roulette. You don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it might be easy to get a date, or like on the apps you can date people, but there's no guarantee that those people are going to be good or that you'll like connect. Like it's really just like a slug and trial and error. But and that's like the hardest thing with COVID is it's like harder to meet up with people because we're locked down.
100%.
So it's like if you're doing the Zoom things or just messaging, you're not really getting a true picture of what they're like.
No.
No, you're literally getting them from this up, and that's it. I mean, depending on your context.
You mean from here down?
I was going to say, it could be either or, chat roulette or not. Yeah, exactly.
From the neck down.
Yeah, exactly, right? Totally. Priorities.
It's interesting because, you know, it truly is, I guess, what is the expression, a global village, you know, where how it seems like what you're doing in Australia is exactly what Hiro's been doing. There's not like there's no difference between how you date these days, because apps are all around the world. You know, everybody, I mean, well, I think most of the world has access to apps if they have a phone. And, you know, it's just it's interesting to me, because I thought that maybe we come in here and talk about some of the contrasts or differences between dating in one country as opposed to another. I guess the big thing would be for you, though, is the lockdown, because
the lockdown,
yeah, because like I said here, I mean, knock on wood, we've been fairly lucky. Like I said, I don't know that could change at the drop of a hat, honestly, for us here. But with I think Hiro, like the dates you've been on, Hiro, I guess you have been able to be closer, just not just physical, mostly physically, I guess, closer to people when you've gone on dates with them.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I don't need to give a huge kind of spiel and stuff, and also respecting these gentlemen's private lives and stuff. But basically, like, when COVID first hit, I was nervous. Do I date? Do I not date? And so I decided to say, okay, I'm just going to do it, but I'm going to be very much at a distance, but still meet in person. So I went on a date with one gentleman, had a nice chemistry with them. And then I realized that they were very intense and kind of territorial. And you kind of saw that come out after meeting them just for one date, which was a little bit bizarre. And then also, again, because I'm going to be very concise with these, I was getting a sense, like, we went on a date. It was great. I told them that I'm going to be busy later that night, like I'm not going to be available, and I that was my cue for me to have time to process and not feel like we're talking all the time, because it can get hot and heavy, really intense, and it can burn out. And I have a tendency to get in that pattern just because I like to go at the pace of the person that I'm with. So it's easy for me to get wrapped up in someone else's momentum and not set my boundaries. So when I got home, when he had gotten home, he called me on video and wanted to know, like, what am I doing? What am I up to? Like, and I just said, I told you exactly what it is I'm doing. I'm going to practice yoga. I'm going to eat dinner. I'm going to unwind, and I'm not in the mood to chat. I need time to process. They kept texting me, and eventually it was like midnight or something, and he was like, he didn't say I love you, but he said, like, I really like you, I feel really connected, and all the stuff besides the kitchen sink. And then he said to me, and I said to him, I'm feeling a lot of intensity right now from you, and it's too much. Then we were talking about sexual preferences and stuff that we were into, and seeing that there was a division and a contrast that might not synchronize so much. Then he says to me, I need to tell you something. This is by text. This is at midnight, okay? So, like, this is the same day. He says, I have to tell you something, I'm HIV positive. Mm-hmm. And I know this is a huge, like, it's a very, I don't want to say it's a very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Hot topic, because it's been very normalized and it's very regulated. So I don't want to discriminate to those that are positive, because positive equals, undetectable equals untransmittable. Like, there's all that. So that's great. But it was really frustrating for me that this gentleman, though everyone has a choice to disclose their status or not, that he didn't tell me before because of how much communication we had already shared, let alone in person. I want to know from someone very easily if they are living with that, instead of the discretion of the fact that they might be afraid of being rejected, or someone that is negative not being interested in them. Because then at the same time, I'm being honest with you about myself and other parts of my life. It makes it challenging for me to feel like I can trust whoever it is again, because they're not being honest with me straight up, and that could be a conflict with future circumstances. So I had to basically say to them, I'm sorry, I don't mind the fact that you're positive, but the fact that you didn't tell me when we've talked about so many things already that would have come up in those contexts, and you chose not to share that with me, means that I feel you're not confident enough in yourself to know that you own what you have, and you feel ashamed of what you have, because why would you hide that from me? So I had to break it off with him, and he kept trying to message me on all the other ways he could communicate with me, like a very stalkerish way. So I had to block his contacts completely. And that was really jarring right at the beginning of the pandemic to think, okay, well, that didn't work. And then from there, I went on a lot of single dates, went on Tinder, Bumble, Grinder, which I went off a lot of times. Plenty of Fish, which is a Vancouver thing. I don't know if Plenty of Fish is in Australia or not.
I don't know that.
But I basically went through every platform that I could think of that I hadn't even tried yet. Hinge is another one. Things that are more about like getting to meet someone and then getting off the platform, so you don't have to keep using it to meet people. So I didn't have a problem getting lots of dates in certain surges. I might have maybe 4 or 5, and then I might have 2 or 3. And then I'm always surprised at how many people either continue to join a platform and then they find me of interest. Because a lot of the time I find that from stigma of whether it's like size of my endowment, like I'm just going to go there, size of my endowment, my fact that I have a bit of a belly, the fact that I have a lifestyle that it's not consistent of drinking or drug usage or substances or nightlife or I'm not a huge traveler, I'm not a huge outdoorsy person. And so you start to kind of whittle down certain kinds of people, doesn't matter if they're gay or what their gender is, but it kind of limits down because, okay, you're a yoga and a Pilates teacher, you're clean living, you're more spiritual, blah, 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 blah. And then also I'm kind of like, I'm not a so-called twink, I'm not a bear, like I'm a kind of a cub. And terms aside, these are things that we as gay people put ourselves into that make us feel like we belong somewhere that we didn't before. And instead now it's actually become so toxic because everyone's trying to find a little niche they fit in, and then they close everyone out that doesn't fit that niche. And so this is so even on like Grindr, Rachel, like you will see that you can put like, what's your tribe? So like, are you twink, bear? Are you a jock? Are you guy next door? So there's all these things that are just so ridiculous because then it makes it like they want to categorize you. And again, are you a top, a bottom, or are you bottom verse, top verse, or are you fully versatile? Right? And these are things that matter in gay communities that are not the same with straight.
So complex.
But that's not even the thing though. That's just the basic stack card. If you show the size of your phone screen, you'll see all this information in a profile if they choose to share that with you. So for us, we don't even think it's complicated. That's what we know.
Yeah.
So then guys will send, like, if it's Grindr, you can't on Tinder, but if you were to go on Grindr, guys will just send you random unsolicited cock pics or ass pics and stuff. And that for me, I automatically block them. Personally for me, because I want to see someone's face. I want to see that they have a full bio. I want to see that they can write in proper language. It doesn't have to be paragraphs, but I want to see that they're actually on a similar way of communicating that I would want to ping pong as if I was in person with them. And then for me, I like to actually try and do voice clips over WhatsApp so I can hear what they sound like. Because I've gone on dates where if I hear a voice or tone, I know for me that I need to feel like I can actually hear the person and I feel comfortable around the tone. And then, of course, seeing photos and doing even a video chat, especially during COVID. So this way I get an understanding as much as I can before I meet so-and-so in person. What is it going to be like potentially to be with them in person and expose myself to a potential risk factor that's not even sexual, but then let alone out of hygiene and COVID. It adds a whole layer that with gay dating is so complicated already. But then here's the flip side. When you also meet someone during COVID, and if they are looking for a relationship or they're not just looking for anonymous sex, which a lot of us are, which is great, it's healthy. I kind of feel like there's a sense of responsibility and a sense of intention for meeting someone. Like, you are meeting someone if you really think that they might be a potential partner for you. You're not wasting time, so to speak, of like, oh yeah, I'll go on an hour coffee walk with this person because, I've got an hour to spare. Maybe something will develop. I'm like, no, maybe I'll connect with this guy. And it's nice to know that he's also interested in me right now. So why not see if it's going to develop into something and then work from that? Because eventually after a date or two, if it even gets that far, I'll know if I want to see that person again or not. And then very rarely does it ever turn to friendship and then you both actually want to be friends. For me, it doesn't happen like that. It's like, great, you have what I'm looking for, let's date. And that happened to be with someone that I dated for 6 weeks, and I learned a lot. Conflict is that, I was very open with myself, they weren't, and so there was a conflict in that, so I had to say, you know what, can't sacrifice myself anymore in the way that I've been doing so. This isn't going to work. you're a fantastic person. Is this not the right fit?
Yeah.
And I wish you the best of luck.
Well,
and that sucks.
And you've always been good at that though, Hiiro. Hiiro, you've always been good at expressing, just staying true to you and expressing yourself, and like, you know, fuck you if you don't get that.
That's all we can do though.
I wonder, like even Jono was thinking what you were saying, Hiiro, about meeting people for coffee. Like I wonder now, because of the pandemic, there are so many lonely people and that are just craving that social interaction or just FaceTime, that it must be hard to really sift through the people that are just lonely or who really actually want to connect with you because they like what they see and they like what they read. Do you know what I mean? Like that must be, I wonder if that's happening more. Perhaps.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that like there's more people chatting online, or like more people that seem to be interested in me now than ever have been. I was kind of putting that as maybe there's less people hooking up now because of COVID. So they've had to lower their standards to my level.
Oh,
but maybe you're right.
Horrible.
I thought you were going to say the opposite though. That's interesting that you said the opposite. Because I find that there are people that are online that I normally wouldn't see because maybe they're used to being out of the online community, and maybe they work in environments, they're in nightlife, maybe they're in communities that are outside that are more clustered together. So then I've actually met people online that I actually think maybe I've had a really good connection with, that normally they say I never go online because I have enough people that come into my social circles around that I might meet. And now, so then I find that So then I find guys that are more on my wavelength. So I find that interesting that you said the opposite. And I want to hear more about that if you have anything to share.
You know, I'm listening to you speak. I'm starting to think that you have a much healthier approach to dating than I do. Like exactly what you just said, and like what you were saying before about how you'll meet up with someone.
Experience, though.
Yeah, I think
like,
it's this
honestly, experience. Yeah, but sorry, continue. But
continue.
Yeah, how you were saying that if you meet up with someone that's like you already are thinking that they could be a potential partner, whereas I will just meet up with anyone because I'll give anyone a chance. Right. So you've got to, you know what you're doing.
Well, the thing that I want to say to that is that I'm very blessed, because I was the guy that was awkward to have any friends growing up, personally, maybe like 2 friends that I really am good friends with now today. One. Love her to death.
Is that Rachel?
So I was like...
Well, yes, but no.
He's talking about people he grew up with, I think.
That I grew up like from birth.
Yeah, which is
Rachel and I met more recently. No, but it feels like we've known each other from birth. You know, we're shared blood. But my point is the fact that where was I? I find that because I have such a strong community of people that are in my core circle of friends that I have very thankfully have acquired since about 18 or so, like after high school is when I really started to form this core of people. It's allowed me to feel supported and lifted up, to not need more people in my life in the sense of them being gay males, I guess. Like, I want to have more gay male friends, but I'm saying that by dating people, it's not like I'm going and thinking, this could be a great friend. I kind of think more, this could be a potential partner, but I'm also really happy to get to know them, even if it might not develop. But I guess the point is, like, I'm going in with the intention of it being a potential partner, even though I'm okay if it might not be that way, as opposed to I'm going to meet this person just to see what they're about. And if it turns into something that's more serious, then that's great too. So I think like what you're looking for, as opposed to the intention of when you go to meet someone, I think they're similar, but they can also be quite separate too. So I think that's what we're seeing a difference in our intention, and they're both fantastic. They're just different.
Yeah.
But Hiiro, maybe you were like Jono at one point. No?
I think there might be more during the pandemic where I'm like, I'm just going to go on a date with someone and just see what happens, because I've lowered my expectations of what I would set myself up for, because I know that if I have higher standard, I guess, then I can have them not be met as much. Whereas if you go with no expectation, no standard, but you think the person of the quality kind of fits what you're looking for, like you're not wasting your time just to meet someone because, then yeah. So, I mean, I think it depends. It's the context, right?
And I feel like I'm this mother. I'm like, Jono, but if you just see what they look like from the neck below, like I don't want you to get hurt. Like, who knows? Like
you don't want them to poke your eyes out.
No, don't poke eyes out with penises.
No.
But no, I just like I feel like you can't. I mean,
wear safety goggles.
It's too easy to not show your face. Your face shows all your expressions. Your face shows like you can't really hide when you show your face. You can hide behind a camera if you're just showing the rest of your body. So that's what I mean. And that I know we don't know each other that well, but I was like, oh, I hope he's being safe. He doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, maybe these. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
But also I think part of it also comes down to, not always, parts of it could be how we were raised, like what kind of I guess precautionary things our parents or like our people that look after us, what they might set in our minds, and how much we either rebel or how much we follow what we think the moral code is. I think that is part of it. But I also think, not because it sounds like it's a cliche statement, but I think with those of us that are alternative and don't fit the norm or the mold of how people view us to be, we're more likely to break out of that. And that could be with substances, that can be with traveling and like not going to post-secondary education when we get out of high school and we just get out of our hometown. And that can also relate to dating, you know, like if we know it can be kind of unsafe, but we're like, oh, I trust myself. If I know how to get out, I'll be safe, I'll be fine. We kind of just follow our instincts, right? Yeah. So I think that's what's really interesting to compare and contrast, is because I know for a fact, like we were just talking, I will not meet somebody if they will not show me a face photo and if they will not communicate in a decent way of writing and ideally verbally. But I'll still meet people if I'm writing with them and it's a face chat. And I also try to meet people as soon as possible if our schedule is aligned. So there's no build up in anticipation. There's no writing and kind of opening up tons, and then you meet them and then all of a sudden it's like, I haven't spent any time with you yet. However, we know so much about each other. It's kind of like there's nothing to really connect with, and that's very different. So, Jono, can you tell me about when you're in your dating, whether if it's now or online, what's the conversation like? You hinted a bit at it, but I'm curious to know, what would a general conversation be like with someone that you would be talking with? How would that go usually?
I try and just meet up as quickly as possible. I hate like the messaging before, because I feel like you can talk for months over message, but you're not really getting to know them, because you can be so much more confident or portray a certain side of yourself that's more curated when it's all online. Whereas if you're in person, it's all about their aura and their energy as well. So like as soon as you meet someone, you know if it's going to work or not, just in that first instant. And that's just about the vibes. But you can't pick that up over messages. So like, for sure, I want to meet people like as soon as we match, really. So the conversation is minimal.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah. So but actually another thing you were saying before about like fitting the molds of the gay community and the tribes, and how you were saying you struggle with that. I totally agree, because like, first of all, I wouldn't put you in cub, but you like don't really, again, fit. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think you would fit in any, or I can't think of one. But then,
that's my point.
So like, I do, like, I'm twink, but then, like, I'm 27, and like a twink is young. So what happens when you age out of twink? So then I have like this whole thing in my head of like, I can't get older, because then like an old twink is unattractive.
That's
So
that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
And that's so frustrating that there's labels. Like, I mean,
everywhere.
I know, everywhere, and I find that so interesting, because you know it's like you want to be labeled as something so that you feel that you fit in to society, but then you don't want to be labeled as something, because then everybody expects that of you. It's so frustrating.
But Jono, do you find this comes up for you? Because as you said, you identify, or you tend to fit into this kind of, I guess, box or this kind of tribe. Whereas you pointed out, I don't feel like I fit any tribe other than average guy next door. Like, that's really it.
Yeah.
So no guys know how to pin me, because men can be very narrow-minded and like, you're too masc, you're too femme, or you like to go outdoors, you're a bear outdoors, or whatever, or you're really feminine and you're into these more gender cultural stereotypes. So do you find that people view you in that way, or do you view yourself in that way? I'm really curious to hear your perspective about that general topic. Yeah,
it's interesting, especially like because I'm so feminine as well. like, people always ask me, like, oh, my friends will say, oh, so, like, do you top or bottom or whatever? And I'm like, oh, well, the only guys that talk to me are tops because I'm, like, a femme twink. So it's just assumed that I'll be more submissive and that I'll be a bottom. And it's, like, kind of the choice is taken out of my hands. And I think that we do that. And, like, if you're talking to, like, a daddy, then you're assuming they're going to be dominant and they're going to be a top and they're going to be into younger guys.
Or a sugar daddy as well.
Yeah. So we just have all these boxes that people have to fit in. And it's like, if you don't fit it, it's like, well, I need to put you in one. So, like, pick one.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. They put us in these categories. And so, I mean, I love who I am. I'm proud of the fact that I don't really fit a stereotype or mold. But then where are the other people that are similar to me or that don't give a shit about that? So they appreciate the authenticity. Men can't figure me out. And so that's kind of interesting. So it's like, I don't know where I fit and guys don't know how to fit me because you can't fit me. So that's why I'm curious about your side, is that you're saying guys look at you and they pin you like that's who you are. But then have you been in situations where you actually will have a conversation with them or they meet you in person and they see that is not necessarily perhaps who you are? How do they respond to that, or how have they responded to that?
I mean, I'm fairly stereotypical, to be honest. Whether that's, like,
that's
natural.
Great. That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's, like, naturally I've been that way, or maybe I'm just, like, I'm in this box, so I only live within it, and it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. But like, even definitely, like, if I go to a party and I drink beer all the time, but every single party I go to, someone would be like, "Oh, are you drinking beer?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do this every weekend." Like, and I've always done this. It's just like people are shocked every time.
They expect you to drink like a frou-frou drink? Like, what are they expecting you to drink?
Like a white wine or like a cooler or something?
I don't know. Oh my gosh.
Or sour apple martini. I don't know. I don't drink. So, I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
The only relatable thing I have to that is just being a yoga teacher and having people be surprised. Oh, you must be vegan. No, I'm not actually. Or they're, oh, you're vegan, right, Rachel? No, I'm really not. Yeah, I'm a yoga teacher, but I'm not vegan. Or shocked that I like, dark stouts. You know, or that I drink whiskey and I'm a woman.
Right.
Like those kind or guys are just like, oh my God, you drink whiskey. That's pretty fucking cool. Like,
No, it's true.
But it's true. It is fascinating, Jono, that you haven't necessarily made the distinction between whether you just, because people assume something of you, that they put you in this box, or if you put yourself in that box. But you seem like if you're comfortable with it and you're happy with it, then it shouldn't matter. But I just can't believe there's so many. I didn't know. I'm learning all this for the first time. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
Jono, can you also tell me? Can you tell me more about the connections you have with, maybe not necessarily meeting the guys, but like online, or when you've met people in person, or even from friends of yours that maybe are in the community that are dating or have had relationships? Do you notice that there are certain things that are across the board, let's say like 80-90%, that are pretty consistent in, I guess, more of an Australian male personality, or in the gay community? Like, Rachel and I were kind of curious what things might be just universal across the gay community internationally, or between Canada and down under, and what might be more, I guess, not exclusive, but more likely to be in that community versus up here. We're kind of curious to see the contrast of what's similar and what's very much different.
Yeah, okay. I think that universally, like, across Australian guys, it's very like, you'll have sex first and then you'll become like fuck buddies if the sex goes well, and then that will maybe lead to a relationship. But it's like if I don't want to have sex with someone straight away, I'll go on maybe like 3 or 4 dates before I do, and like by the 4th date you can tell they're really like, why are we waiting so long? Like, this is insane. Like, they get kind of annoyed. It's, you have to really give it up straight away. Otherwise you'll lose them.
That's just a man thing.
So annoying.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll speak to that one first. We can kind of ping pong, and then Rachel, you'll probably have curiosities, and then we can weigh in.
Oh, I just love being a fly on the wall here. It's fabulous.
Yeah, so I find that it's similar with guys here. A lot of men, again, hence the apps, a lot of guys have a short attention span, and that's just our generation as well. But men have sex on the brain. You put two men together and that are interested in the same thing, then naturally your hormones are going to go wild. Because traditionally, like as animals, it's like eat, sleep, procreate, and
fuck,
and yeah, basically.
And like,
and
fuck, he's like, yeah, and noted, right? Yeah. And so it's interesting that when you put that in the context of dating, when we have a language, we speak English, we're not like animals without, there's so many other things we think about, right? Where I was going with that is that there are a lot of guys that are like that here, but then there are also the odd people that are similar to me that might have the same thoughts and we might talk about it and stuff, but it's not necessarily like an immediate, like, yes, check, let's go, and we're done. Can I ask a quick question? Do you think it's because of, is it age? Because I just know Hiiro, and I know Hiiro does tend to go for it depends, but you were going for guys that were older.
I tend to normally still. Yeah.
Because, so do you think, Jono, like what do you tend to go for? Because do you think it is age, and maybe that's why you're finding, Jono, that the men are just like, you're just like, you fuck first, and then, maybe your relationship comes after.
I find the older guys are the ones that want to jump right in the sack first. Like, they want to do that more than the younger guys. I feel like with a younger guy, I could go on a date, but if, I don't know, I would never, I don't know, an older guy has never asked me on a date. They just want to, like, have sex.
Huh.
Interesting. And do you find that they want to get to know you a little bit first, like even if it's just out of just general small talk or being on a coffee date, or are they literally like, okay, cool, let's have sex, and then if it goes well, then we can talk and like cuddle after? Like what's the stage if you were to break it down into like little step by step, like an IKEA instruction step? What would that look like? Like a play by play,
Well, actually, like, I did. Now that like cases are down like below or around 10, I have started like in the past 2 weeks going on dates, like meeting guys. And so I went on one last week with this German doctor who was like 55, I think.
Like Hiiro and I both went.
To a German, interesting.
I know, wait a second. Jews going, no, I don't know. Anyway,
well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen American Horror Story Asylum, the second season, but there is but I've heard like a
yes, I have.
Yeah, there's Dr. Arden in that, who's like the Nazi doctor who like experiments on all the patients. And the guy I went on a date with looked like him.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up. It's been so long since I've seen that season. Interesting.
Skinny, like white hair, beard, lab coat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was still down for this date. And so, but he wanted to like really hang out like before we did anything, whereas I was just kind of there for one thing.
Right.
And so we went on like a 2-hour walk, and then like went back to his place and had sex, but he wore the face mask still the whole time, like during sex.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like,
okay, I was wondering.
You're in like, I was like, okay, you're in like a vulnerable group because you're like elderly, but like I'd like to be able to see your face and like kiss you while we're doing this.
Was he wearing like a general cloth face, or was he actually wearing like a gas
surgical
mask?
Like a gas mask.
No. It was
because people are wearing those in Vancouver. They're literally like with the valves, like a construction worker. I'm like, isn't that a little bit too much? Like given what we're in, like just a covering. Like just a little one, not like. What are we in a glass blowing factory? Yeah.
Well,
okay. So
Jono's already answered one of my questions I was going to ask about, like actually doing the act, getting into the act, and like and how that differs between now and pre-pandemic. But someone wore a mask. Interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, our government, Jono, I think it was our government, recommended glory holes.
They totally did.
I saw that.
Legit. They legitimately did.
Yeah, they did. I remember. Yeah.
No joke. So
that news has gone worldwide.
I'm sure it has.
Amazing.
It's like, wow, Canada's cool. So are they like
There are other
installing
moments.
glory holes into all the public bathrooms?
Oh my God.
I don't even go to a public I mean, where do people go to public washrooms these days anyway? I don't know. That's
Grocery stores, like there's some stuff at like some of the grocery stores I go to, they will have
glory
or
holes in the
cafes.
grocery stores.
Sorry, but public washrooms is more what I mean. But could you imagine if that would be there? Yeah, grab your coffee, grab your free Wi-Fi and water, and boom, enjoy the glory hole while we're at it. 5-minute maximum. Would you like to make a reservation?
Crazy.
Like,
oh gosh. Yeah, you need to have time to sanitize in between every person.
You totally do. It's like the new generation of bathhouse. You just have like hallways and hallways of like literal, like it'd be a whole business.
Right.
Hole in one.
Then they'd have to discover or kind of think about, okay, what is like, what's the cheapest way to make a glory hole? Because we'd have to charge everyone, have to put a new one in every time, and like it's like being a dental office, having new tools every time. So I mean, it just goes on and on and on. I mean, it's
just use a paper bag and get it over with.
Wow. Yeah.
Frustrating for me is that I identify as a versatile like sexual preference. Like I prefer to be versatile if I can. However, I do enjoy the energy of being a bottom and being taken care of by someone, but not necessarily being submissive. So I kind of like, am I a verse bottom? Am I a verse top? And then also like, again, I don't care. It's fine. Like
Sorry, would you say reverse bottom?
Verse,
not
reverse. Where that would be an interesting in between we could add to make it even more complicated. We're a reverse top, reverse bottom. Like what? What the hell is that?
What is that?
I have no idea. Oh my God! Hashtag that shit, right? Like it's like a born again bottom, born again top, born again whatever. It's like what?
Interesting. Okay, continue. I was trying to visualize that.
Yeah, I know that's very interesting. Is like, huh?
I know.
Huh?
Yeah.
Huh? It's like an awkward yoga mudra. Anyway, so I find for me, like, I'm not afraid to go there. Like, I've got a very tight ass. Okay, I'm just gonna say I've got a very tight ass. All right, I'm not afraid. I'm maybe
I
don't
think
know.
I need to leave this conversation now.
Let's move this to Snapchat.
Jono
Oh my God. Yeah. You can educate me on how to use Snapchat. But like, and for those listening,
the story's never going to actually end. I love it.
No, but for those that are listening, because I know people that are listening to this, you might be like, okay, that was TMI. Okay. But you know what? We are talking about getting fruity. We are talking about this context.
Your mother listens to this and your dad.
Yeah, but you know what though? They already know, but they're going to be like, what are you doing?
Probably.
What are you doing? We can edit this out, but you know what?
Mom and dad, I have nothing to do with this. I hope you still like
I want to apologize as well. I didn't know there would be parents listening.
You know what, though? I mean, again, we can edit all this stuff out. That's what's great about what we're doing is that we can take content out.
But yeah, okay.
Whatever. But the point is, it's like, okay, whatever. Anyways,
back
as
to
I was
the story.
saying.
You don't have to repeat what you said again, but you can.
No, I won't. No, I won't. No, but the point is that it makes it very frustrating for me. Makes it very frustrating for me when I'm being intimate with someone and we're having these discussions and dialogues. And I feel like I want to be able to experience one thing and I feel like that I can't because I need to have enough time and patience and also the right partner to not be impatient or frustrated or feel like that I'm not confident, which is something that I also find is a bit of performance anxiety in a different way, because performance anxiety can be viewed in one way. For me, I kind of look at it in that context. So I find it's really interesting. How do I feel comfortable with people and communicating and having to actually talk about those things that might weigh someone away from me, but at the same time, they need to know because it's actually from past experiences of how men have treated me, and therefore now I have to deal with this. So long story short, when I was being intimate with one of the people that I got to know during the pandemic, you know, I really enjoyed bottoming. I really enjoyed it from that person that was able to be that way with me. And I actually felt like for the first time, I was really comfortable and it felt really, really safe. And then after those experiences, I then had to deal with not anything major, like nothing crazy, but I had to deal with, like hemorrhoids. And here's the thing is that if you are a male and you are having penetrative sex, it is different. So no matter how much preparation you might make, how much things you do to make sure you do it as safe and without any complications, there's always most likely going to be something that comes up. And unfortunately for me, I had to recover for a good 10 to 14 days. And it was like, why is it that I finally feel comfortable in this experience, which is just a way of pleasuring and being actually good to yourself and being empowered in your physical body, your sexual health. And then I get penalized or get a consequence because I let myself go to an experience that I haven't had before. So then it kind of makes that kind of situation get even more frustrating, because then how are you supposed to gauge that with future experiences with future partners? And then do I have to feel like, oh, I can only talk because it's safe for me and I don't have to worry about that? And at the same time, my body doesn't feel fulfilled because it's seeking an equal balance of both dominance and like giving and receiving, right? So it's like, that's one thing that I've come up with from dating people in the pandemic that maybe I haven't actually have come to realization from before. So, you know, I know that can be a little bit of TMI. I know I said that I have certain situations, but I want to be really sincere. It's not meant to be vulgar, but that is something that I experience. And I think that a lot of men also have the same situation. So I think it's actually healthy to talk about it. And if people are judgmental or think like, oh, that's not professional or whatever, it's not meant to be that way. I'm just being really sincere and candid. And I think it's important that people talk about that, because other people must have similar issues with your pelvic floor, which it is a pelvic floor concern that I do go through. And I've been through pelvic floor physio for men to figure out what is going on in that part of my body so I can help myself. So it is actually something that I think we need to bring to the forefront, is men's pelvic health. And that's why I was very candid saying I have this. So I just want to kind of clear that up, because people are like, why would he say a comment like that? That's so brash. But it's actually like a traumatic situation of how men have treated me, and I've tried to get medical help from a professional. And so I think that's something that, just to mention right, that I just want to clear that up.
I think that people, hopefully someone might be listening to this and be like, oh my God, I'm not alone. And he just opened up this huge conversation that means that I think it's okay to talk about this.
It is okay. And I noticed,
so
I just want to say, because I noticed like anxiety coming up in my brain as well. Like my body is actually responding viscerally, like, oh my God, should I even said that about my ass? Like, is that too much? Like, I'm freaking out. Like, what if people judge me, or people like say you're fired from your job because you just revealed this? Like, that's not kosher. You know, I'm thinking like, how would someone perceive that? But at the same time though, it's just natural human communication. So it's kind of that stigma that I think we face as people, but let alone being in the gay community. Maybe it's not just the gay men, but it's something that I think might come up more in a gay culture, you know? Like I feel my stomach kind of rumbling, and I'm like, oh my God, like it's like that visceral feeling like, oh like I don't know. I think I'm just being really, really
and
real.
we do not, and we can cut this whole thing out if you want.
Maybe the beginning part of it about me saying I have a tight ass, and then cutting that part out too.
And then we cut out this part right now where you say, maybe the beginning part we cut out where I said I have a tight ass. And now we just have to cut out what I just said. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about this after. But
But
Hiiro, I think that it's like sex is so much a part of life, and like movies and music and everything, conversations with friends, everything's about sex. And so any struggles with like sexual performance, there's so much shame around it, because you feel like you're abnormal because everyone else is doing it fine. Like, why is no one else struggling? So I think it's really good that you're being so open.
Oh honey, I could spin from a woman's perspective too. I know it's hard to, again, I don't want to compare, I can't compare. But there's a lot of stuff that women are meant, I don't know if we're meant to, but there's a lot of shame, body shaming, and over things that women deal with and go through. And we'll talk about that on another episode, because a lot of things that I'd like to bring up as well. But a lot of things that, you know, because it's not ladylike to do so still, right? Or that we shouldn't be in touch with that side of ourselves. And we're sluts and we're whores, and you know, that's a whole other ball of wax. But again, just trying to relate a little bit to that. But no, Hiiro, I think, I don't know. I think both of you are very brave.
Thank you.
Personally. And I just want to keep hearing about your journey, Jono and Hiiro. I mean, I will hear about Hiiro's, but
yeah, but Jono, you're new to both of us, so we want to hear a lot more that you're willing to share, because I think you bring a really fresh perspective to both mine and Rachel's awareness of this kind of subject matter. It's really neat to hear that. So yeah, please feel free to share. This is open for you to share as much as you want.
Yeah, and maybe we'll even have you back to, if you feel open about it, maybe we'll even have a conversation about, more specifically about body image and sexual performance, stigmas surrounding certain things, because that can be a long conversation on its own.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, but
yeah.
My last question for right now is, because I've been looking at some of your podcast names, and I know they're in relation to not wanting to give up the actual identity of the people that you've been dating.
Yeah.
Well, who is juicier, Bob Saget or Nick Jonas?
Ooh, that's tough.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. You could think of the actual people, or are you thinking about the men you were dating? Who are you?
I'm thinking about the men I was dating.
Okay, the men you were dating. Okay.
That's a tough one, because Bob Saget, I have slept with, we're intimate partners now. I've slept with him many times, and I have a really good time with him.
Yes.
Nick Jonas, though, that story is that he was a guy from high school 10 years ago that I always had a crush on, and I've followed his life because he has a very dramatic life and very dramatic social media.
Wow.
So I follow him and talk about him with my friends constantly, and then he's just DM'd me for a hookup just recently, and I never knew he was into guys. And so, yeah. And so,
that sounds like a juicy story.
I know.
Can save that. Well, but anyway, yeah. I
know. I'm gonna have to say Nick Jonas, just because I don't.
And I only do this because what if Bob Saget's listening?
I know. I'm sorry, Bob. Oh. Bob's great, but the Nick Jonas is 10 years in the making. I've spent 10 years thirsting for this guy.
Wow.
If it happens, it will be the best thing ever.
Anticipation.
Wow. Yeah. That's a good answer. I wasn't expecting an answer. That's a very good answer. Well, Jono, again, thank you. I'm so amazed and happy that we can make this work, especially with the time difference, the time change. So thank you for taking the time out of your day. And then Hiiro and I will go to bed soon, I'm sure, on a Sunday.
After I eat a huge dinner.
Yeah. Oh, Hiiro. Oh my goodness. But plug your stuff right now, all you want. So what are you on Insta, go for it.
Yeah. Please. Well, before I do, I just want to say, I'm such a huge fan of this podcast and both of yours, so it does mean so much that you've had me on. I think you guys you guys are doing so well. It's such a good energy. It's light and fun to listen to. And you can have it kind of on in the background, even if you're doing something else, but it's still got so much heart and you really go there. It's really hard to find a podcast like that.
I'm gonna cry. Can you write a testimonial?
I'm a little bit clamped. I'm a little bit clamped.
No, we've had our podcast for 3 weeks.
I know, and it's so good.
Oh my gosh. Well, that means a lot.
We are elated.
That means a lot, honestly.
It really does mean a lot.
And there's a reason why we connected and why we wanted you on, because we also think that you're pretty awesome. So I thank you for saying that. That means a lot. So
yeah,
and now plug yourself.
Very encouraging.
Plug myself sounds a little wrong. Put that
there. You want that, Rachel. I didn't have to even set that up for you.
Foot out of mouth. Okay.
Our podcast Instagram is at Desperately Seeking Podcast, which I know is a really long handle and I fully regret it. And my personal one, if you want to follow me, is at Jono Bad Bitch.
Do we
on
that?
Work it. I think we're following you on our Getting Juicy page. I feel like I've seen that. And if not, then we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Change that.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then, that's awesome. So, and then what I'll also do is I'll make sure I put those links and the handle in the episode description. So for all of you that did not hear that or catch that, or for any of you that didn't make it to the end of the episode, that's okay. Don't judge you. It's all good. We'll put that in the end of the notes. And once again, Thank you, Hiiro. Any last?
No, you know what? I think we have tons of things to talk about in a future episode, and I think that I really wanted to appreciate your all of our candidness, sharing these experiences, because it takes a lot of vulnerability, and it also puts us at risk to be criticized and scrutinized, and also judged by people that we're talking about not being judged by perception, and yet that's exactly what people are going to do when they hear these and watch these types of discussions. And so I don't pray, but it's interesting. I noticed coming to my mind, I just pray that people don't look at this and think something different, that or misconstrue what we're talking about and perceive us in a way that isn't anything other than how we're trying to really feel from the heart. That's really all I have to say.
Well, and 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 you can't, what do they say? Like you can't control what other people think. You can just do the best you can, put yourself out there and have the right intentions. That's all you can do, right? So yeah.
Great.
Yeah, otherwise everything's
on that
great.
note. Well, we will stay in touch, Jono, and you have yourself a lovely, lovely day.
Yeah, happy Monday to you.
Yeah.
Happy Monday. Yeah.
Monday.
Always.
Bye, Jono.
Bye, Jono.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great one. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Bye. Peace.
Bye.